I promise that once you start studying the Word with these secret keys that we'll be unlocking, your scriptural understanding will open your inner world and your spiritual life will be transformed and never be the same again. Hi there, and welcome to Allegory, Ancient Symbolism in Sacred Scripture, a great Bible study series where we investigate ancient symbolic language found in Scripture. If you are a serious truth seeker and like some insights to help you better understand the Bible, then subscribe to this channel and continue watching. Well, believe it or not, there are various opinions between Christian scholars about whether the Bible is to be taken literally or if there is need for interpretation. Many modern-day theologians take a position along the middle ground where biblical text only requires interpretation if it is obviously meant to be symbolic, but otherwise to be accepted in its literal translation elsewhere and by default. This interpretation or issue has caused and continues to cause a lot of confusion and angst. Now, my position is that without discarding the significance of congruent literal text, divine teachings within sacred scriptures apply primarily and directly to the realm of our mind, individually and personally. In this series, I hope that you too will see the eternal truth as it applies to us personally, and that the purpose of revelation is to reveal this to us today, rather than only holding practical historical significance. When we read the Bible, it becomes obvious that the prophets and early Christians were well aware of the allegorical or symbolic significance of the Scriptures. Let us therefore have a look at a few passages to see what the Bible itself tells us. In Psalm 78, "Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old." And in Psalm 119, "Open my eyes that I may see wondrous things from your law." And in Matthew 13, "He who has ears, let him hear. It has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand." And in John chapter 16, "These things I have spoken to you in figurative language." If that was not enough, in Galatians, "Tell me, you who desire to be under the law, do you not hear the law? Which things are symbolic?" And in Hebrews chapter 9, "The way into the holiest of all was not yet made manifest, while the first tabernacle was still standing." It was symbolic. And in Luke chapter 24, "And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. And they said to one another, Did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us on the road and while he opened the scriptures to us?" We can see that the word itself reveals clearly that the scriptures are symbolic and meant to reveal the law for those that are willing to hear it. This otherwise hidden treasure map to personal spiritual application can be found through the understanding of ancient symbolism. If coupled with a sincere willingness to be led by truth from the Word on a quest to develop our inner character. This is what we seek to share with you in this particular series. So for this we refer to Emanuel Swedenborg's theological writings published in the early 1700s. In encouragement, he writes in a book called Apocalypse Revealed, Read the Word and believe in the Lord, and you will see the truths which should constitute your faith and life. For all in the Christian world draw their doctrine from the Word as from the only fountain. Every man whose soul desires it is capable of seeing the truths of the Word in the light, provided indeed that he hungers after it and seeks it from the Lord. However, before we actually move on, there are three fundamental or key assumptions to be understood that are taken for granted in this series and that underpin this series. The first one is that the divine is the source of all wisdom, all love, and therefore all truth and life. In fact, ultimately, everything. Now, this is not limited to the physical and literal text of the books in the Bible. We can access and connect with the great I Am through opening our inner self and yearning to learn the truth, and by seeking to serve others meaningfully. There are even many other great sacred texts that channel the Word and through which the divine Jehovah God can teach and transform us. Swedenborg writes in True Christian Religion, "From His omnipotence, God created the universe and introduced order into each thing and all things in it. God also preserves the universe and unceasingly watches over the order of it with its laws. And when anything falls back from order, He brings it back and makes it whole again." So the Lord is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the great I Am and the all in all. Number two, our mind is not physical and already operates in the spiritual realm right now. Some call it dream world, world of spirits, metaphysical realm. It doesn't matter what you call it, but the truth is that our thoughts and feelings originate from it and remain non-physical. We already connect with heaven right now by curing a heavenly state of being within ourselves. Our ability to be transformed comes courtesy of the all-knowing source of all, through divine principles operating since the beginning of time. In Arcana Celestia, or Heavenly Secrets, Swedenborg writes, "Everything that is done according to divine order is inwardly open to the Lord and thus has heaven in it. Divine order is for the Lord to flow in through the interiors of man into his exteriors, thus through the will of man into his actions. How a man must live for it to be according to order, the Word teaches." And number three, the natural world and our experience within it does not operate independently from our mind and the divine, but in essence reflects the divine through us. And because of this, our outer experience depends on our connection with God and can be traced back to those divine principles operative within the human mind. Again, in Arcana Celestia, Swedenborg writes, "Whatever in universal nature has not correspondence with the spiritual world cannot exist, having no cause from which to exist and consequently from which to subsist. The things that are in nature are nothing but effects. Their causes are in the spiritual world. Nor can the effect subsist unless the cause is constantly in it, because the effect ceases when the cause ceases. Regarded in itself, the effect is nothing else but the cause, but so clothed outwardly as to enable the cause to act and as a cause in a lower sphere. Hence it is also plain that each and all things in the world have come forth from the divine, and they continue to come forth from the divine." So the closer you look, the more everything is in harmony and a perfect representation of us. The symbolism discussed in this study series and found within the Bible ties perfectly back to the operation of the human mind and its associated states and qualities. And this is where we will ultimately find the understanding of this ancient allegoric language. But let me share with you a beautiful quote from Swedenborg where he expresses this significance. "All things in the Word, both in general and particular, down to the most minute iota, signify and enfold within them spiritual and heavenly things. That the Word is really of this character might be known from a single consideration, that being the Lord's and from the Lord, it must of necessity contain within it such things as belong to heaven, and that unless it did so, it could not be called the Lord's Word, nor could it be said that have any life within it. The Lord, who is very life itself. So I believe that the symbolism that we will unpack in this series was well understood in ancient times, but has since long been forgotten. We can trace remnants of it back within the oldest known languages, within myths, within stories, and even those sayings that have survived into the modern world. You only need to bring a humble state of mind and a willingness to be led by the Lord. The Lord promised in Psalm 78, "I will utter dark sayings of old." And this promise is fulfilled in the sacred scriptures and clearly made known in all the prophets like Samuel. "Speak what is high, high. Let what is ancient come out of your mouth." A promise that once you start studying the Word with these secret keys that we'll be unlocking, your scriptural understanding will open your inner world and your spiritual life will be transformed and never be the same again. Finally, let me echo Paul by saying, "And we have such trust through Christ toward God, not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think of anything as being from ourselves, but our sufficiency is from God, who also made us sufficient as ministers of the new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life." And good luck, enjoy this series, and thank you for sharing your spiritual journey with us. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to stay in touch. For further information, you may wish to read up on some of the books written by European scientists, devout Christian, and on all accounts a modern-day prophet, Emanuel Swedenborg, who uncovered this science of correspondences a few centuries ago and made it available to the Western world. In this series we will draw on the spiritual philosophy that is given to us in the writings of Emanuel Swedenborg, who was a remarkable mystic, Christian theologian and author who was born in 1688. Swedenborg himself did not start any church, believing rather that the philosophy contained within his writings would affect the religious ideas of his days for the better. He died in London in 1772 at the age of 84. And many people in the last 2 centuries, including some very well-known figures, have paid tribute to Swedenborg, to his writings and to the insights found within his work, such as Helen Keller, Arthur Conan Doyle, Carl Jung, Thomas Carlyle and Ralph Waldo Emerson. He wrote, for example, in Arcana Celestia, which is translated Heavenly Secrets, "Truths which come from the Lord never cease to be truths from the Lord in their inward form. To be truth, truth must have life within it. And life comes from no other source than good, that is, from the Lord by way of good. If therefore the Lord is not within truth, it is truth devoid of life, and so it is not truth." And in True Christian Religion, he wrote, "The literal sense of the word is written by appearances and correspondences. Each of its details, therefore, contains a spiritual sense in which truth is illuminated by its own light, and the literal sense is in shadow." Thank you very much.